It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Lindsey Wilson's head track and field coach, Coach Cherise Roberts. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college track and field?
Well, I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I started coaching at my old high school, and then went to a junior college, and then ended up helping out at BYU. So it just kind of developed into getting the opportunity to teach, but also doing a sport that I love. So,
What was that experience like going to Arizona State and getting to compete in track and field?
um, it was, I guess, a little surreal because I didn't go there right out of high school and didn't think I was going to be able to ever really be on the traveling team. So my second year there, when I was able to travel and compete, it was um, definitely eye-opening that you can do hard things if you try. So and are consistent.
How was that experience like getting to put on that Arizona State uniform and representing them?
I would say that I remember the first time I went to go visit the campus, I was like, this is where I want to be. And I remember being upset that it wasn't my first option right after I graduated high school. And getting to put it on and actually compete for the team was, if looking back at the process of what it took to be there was kind of one of those like achievements that being consistent with the process and working hard was a reward. Like it all paid off. It's all for something.
What were some of your biggest accomplishments at Arizona State as a track athlete?
I would say um, my favorite moment was when I ran 10:26 in California and finished the race in the steeplechase, and not knowing, like, not thinking I was capable of that, and getting to go talk to my coach after and how excited he was that I ran it. That was probably one of my favorite moments. So,
For you, what was that experience like transitioning from going from Arizona to getting into coaching and coaching at BYU?
um, because I didn't necessarily live the Division I athlete lifestyle, because I had to work through college, I would say it was a, a, a different type of level for me, getting to see like what an actual running Division I level athlete lives. Like, you don't just come to practice and it's done after practice. You actually eat right and sleep right and are committed to the lifestyle of what it takes to be great at running.
During your time at BYU as the assistant coach, what were some of the things that you were able to accomplish?
Um, I was able to see, several athletes become All Americans and get to witness a national championship team, and seeing what it takes to be a great coach. And it's not just coming up with, the best workouts, it's just how involved Diljit Taylor is in each of their lives and helping them to understand that it's not just running. And like everything she does is for them. And coaching is not necessarily about like the glory you get out of your from their achievements. It's more about the glory they get from what you put into them. And so just that service attitude of, it's not about me, it's about them.
What were some of the things that you learned during your time at BYU to help you to transition to become a head coach?
It's a great question. I would say trying to, every runner, especially with distance, progresses in a different way. And so just understanding what works for some distance runners versus others, and being able to recognize as a coach, like um, what, like when is their max? Like, okay, this is where you gain, you need to stop this workout, or I think you can go one step further. Just being aware of each individual athlete so that as a whole, you can improve the team.
Coming to Lindsey Wilson, what was that feeling like becoming the next head coach?
So I remember walking into my office with the director of track and field, Anthony Thompson, and the thought came to my head that a year ago today, I did not have an office. And thinking that moment when he showed me my office and like started, congratulating me for my position, and thinking, um, it's it's real life. Like this is where it starts. It was scary but exciting at the same time.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a track coach?
Well, it's funny because I feel like days all just kind of go together. I'm constantly having some type of coaching related event in my life. Waking up, like for example, today I try to like check my emails, or today I wanted to test and see how the workout would be for them. And so I did the workout this morning and just see if there was any alterations I needed to do. And then looking over their training programs, and, sending out emails or texts to recruits. And then, yeah, it's basically just part of my life now, like daily living, and I enjoy it. I do really enjoy it.
What does a typical competition day look like for you?
Um, well, I try to, something I picked up from Diljit Taylor is writing personal notes to each of the athletes that I coach. Just words of encouragement, and I try to hashtag like a scripture in there that pertains to their training or the competition we're about to do. And then I kind of go around and, you know, talk to each of them, just whether it's briefly or, 10 to 15 minutes, just about remembering the training they did. And, this is fun. This isn't just like about the results. It's about what you can accomplish during the race. So, talking to them before, after, and yelling at them during. So,
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
University of Cumberland's, Georgetown, Campbellsville, Bethel, Freedom of Heart. I know I'm missing one. There's like 7 of them. So,
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like UC Cumberland comes to home versus going to UC Cumberland to compete?
um, I would say I feel like our athletes feel like they have to represent anytime we're competing against them, whether it's at home or away, where they hold themselves to, a standard that we expect of them, and, one that we expect of them daily. So I would say that, you know, the best is what lines up. As long as you put forth your best effort on the line, that's all we can ask. Um, and so I feel like the athletes are starting to develop that. And, you know, one of my athletes was just saying how he's like, this is the first year in his 5 years of running here where he feels like anxious and excited to be on the line. And I told him, I was like, well, that's probably my fault because every time you line up, I put my money on you. I think that you're going to do your best race every single time because I've seen it. So, yeah, that's the kind of mentality that we're kind of trying to encourage, and, that they can do their best in everything, even if it doesn't go how they planned.
As a head coach, what is that like getting to oversee different events during the track meet?
Well, I am definitely learning a lot from our director, Anthony Thompson, about jumps and why something went well and why something didn't go well. It's fun also talking with, some of the athletes about like high jump. I couldn't tell you too many things about high jump and the technique. I've really enjoyed watching pole vault, and just asking them, okay, well, what happened there? What needs to be worked on? I love learning and just how things can improve and techniques it takes to improve it. So I've enjoyed it.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to build for the Lindsey Wilson track and field program?
Okay, sorry, one more time. What was the question?
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the program?
A culture. Um, I when I first came here, I feel I was a little intense because I was coming with the BYU mentality of like that Division 1, like, you live it, you breathe it, you act it. And so coming here, just trying to find the balance of like, um, this this is not something that necessarily defines each of them in their daily lives throughout all day. And so I I feel like, my goal this specific track season was to be more focused on like their personal lives and talking about them personally, like through their challenges, and instead of just talking about their training. And, you know, so just thinking of it more as, these are people that I hope to mentor, not just in coaching, but in life choices.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen putting on that Lindsey Wilson track uniform?
So because this is my first year, I haven't actually gotten my first recruited freshman put on their uniform yet. However, we did have one freshman come, this year on the distance side, and, it's been fun watching him. Just he is just willing to do anything I ask, no matter how he's feeling. Like he's willing to put himself through the ringer just to accomplish whatever crazy task I've given him. And it's been fun watching him develop and, take on challenges.
What is that like getting to see those seniors putting on that last uniform for the last time?
It's funny, the other day at practice, I was talking to one of our seniors, and, slowly more of the athletes started coming and started looking around, and there was probably more than half the athletes sitting around were chatting about conference. And, it was the first time really where I was like, this is my team now. Like this is a team that I'm going to be really sad that it's gone, because a lot of them are seniors. And, going to nationals with some of them, and, discussing how it was their last indoor race, and, it was bittersweet. Bittersweet's the best word.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those seniors going on and competing, whether it's professionally for a club or getting into coaching after college?
Well, I'd hope that they would feel comfortable enough to reach out to me for anything that, any questions that they may have. But one of our seniors has talked about coaching in the high school level, and it makes me excited to see what he develops. And he's like, I'm going to send them to you wherever, you know, they're going to be I'm making your prodigies. And so it's kind of fun to hear that they have confidence in my coaching style.
What have been some of the things you've been able to accomplish so far, and what are some of your future plans for the program?
Um, well, I had four of my athletes go to nationals in indoor, and one of them or two of them were all Americans. So that was a pretty exciting accomplishment for my first year. Um, and I'm hoping to continue that through outdoor, trying to get, some in the race walk. Actually, we just had a guy do his first race walk and he hit a standard for nationals. So we have one for sure going to nationals. And then we have some big races coming up the next couple weeks to hopefully get a couple more standards where they can go on to nationals as well.
What advice would you give those freshmen entering their first year of college track and field?
My biggest advice I could give is communicate. Communicate with me on like how you're feeling, where like if it's too hard. I feel like because I give out this workout, athletes just assume that they can handle it. Whereas sometimes our bodies are telling us like, no, this is too much, but we deny our bodies that like, sometimes rest is part of training. Like we need a little bit of a break. And so I feel like my athletes have gotten a little more comfortable with talking to me about like my legs just feel dead. I'm like, okay, we're just gonna take today off and then we're gonna start back up when like in the right way. So I think communication is one of the biggest things that I would encourage my incoming freshmen to do.
What advice would you give those seniors that have aspirations of competing professionally?
Be consistent. It's so hard to be consistent, especially on days when, not everything lines up perfectly. Um, I think when you overcome hard challenges like it's raining, it's snowing, and being able to, get through those adversities will only make you stronger. And so being consistent even during the hiccups is what I would recommend.
What advice would you give those athletes that have aspirations of getting into coaching after their collegiate career?
That's a hard one. I would say remember just because you're coaching doesn't mean you can't still learn. That, this first year I've probably learned more than I have in the last several years of being involved in coaching. Just because I learned how I want to be as a coach and how I want my athletes to view me and just different training, honestly, like changing up my training and and how they accept my type of training prescriptions.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own track and field program on the collegiate level?
Well, I feel like developing relationships is probably one of the most important things you could do. This year, I was working really hard with recruiting, and as much as I wanted to interact with just the seniors and try and get seniors, I feel it's important to also like make sure you develop a relationship with some of their coaches because those are the people that are working on your future prospects that are potentially going to encourage them to come look at your campus. So making sure that because I have to say, I am so impressed with high school coaches, especially out here in Kentucky. They not only coach high school, but sometimes they have middle schoolers, and sometimes they're coaching distance and all the events without having any assistance. So I commend high school coaches for their willingness to do it and really serve the athletes, even when it gets hard. So, yeah, developing relationships would be what I would recommend.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media along with the program app?
My personal profile is on Instagram, and then there is a Lindsey Wilson Instagram as well for track and cross country.
Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Lindsey Wilson as the head track and field coach.
Thanks.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.